I don't know. Should we wait for a minute or two?
Probably ought to.
Let me stop 1 minute.
Should we go ahead, Dave? Okay. I simply want to express my thanks to my co-sponsors and to the people around the country who helped in this endeavor. It is very difficult bucking both the President Pro Tem, who also chairs the Appropriations Committee, as well as an incumbent administration on this. But this is this was one battle, is not the war, and this has to be fought. We simply cannot let this nation go down the tube economically, and we're not going to let it happen.
Senator Thurman, do you want to go?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been engaged in this fight for over 35 years. Starting with Harry Bud Sr., Carbondale, South Dakota, a long time ago. We passed this amendment through the Senate when I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee. Sent it to the House, the leaders got it and killed it. We lacked one vote in 86 of passing it. This fight is not over. We've got to continue this fight. We can't allow deficits to accumulate. $200 billion a year going in debt every year, for which we get nothing. My opinion is that the people are going to demand that this amendment be passed. Just this year, we didn't do it, but we're going to keep on. That's the only way you can get it done. The Congress has refused to do it. They have abdicated, thrown up their hands, spend. But the day of the big spenders has got to end. But I'm afraid it's not going to end until we pass this constitutional amendment to make the big spenders stop spending more than we take in. So we will continue the fight. I want to commend again the able senator from Illinois, the able senator from Idaho, and others, and the able senator from Utah for the good fight that they waged, and others who participated in it. However, I want to say to the public that I hope the people back home will voice their expressions to their senators and find out why they voted against this amendment. We've got to pass this amendment if we're ever going to balance the budget. Thank you.
Well, let's just be honest about it. We had formidable forces against us, and we want to congratulate them because they led a formidable fight against us. It's pretty tough to go up against the President of the United States. The President Pro Tem of the Senate, who's the chairman of the Appropriations Committee, who wielded an awful lot of power down there, and of course the distinguished majority leader, who of course we all respect and who wields an equal amount of power. I believe that President Clinton won this battle, but I think the American people lost. President Clinton did not want a balanced budget amendment, and the administration's expression of hysteria that we saw during those hearings in reaction to balancing the budget really carried the day. This is a hysteria-generated defeat. Plus, some pretty slick maneuvers on the floor in bringing up the Reid Amendment, which, as you all saw, was not very well respected, nor was it very well supported in getting only 22 votes. If the President had been with us, perhaps we would have won. In fact, I have no doubt we would have won. But he wasn't. And I choose to believe that he was sincere in being against it and in following the lead of Senators Byrd and Mitchell. But this is a sad day for me. It's a sad day for all parents and grandparents who, like me, are concerned with the economy and the system of government that we're passing on to our children and grandchildren. The defeat of the Balanced Budget Amendment delays again the restoration of the kind of accountable government that the framers intended, and I think it's been cheapened by the power of the spending interests in our country and in our government. But the supporters of the Balanced Budget Amendment, who support the restoration of responsible constitutional government, have learned a lesson best framed by Winston Churchill when he said, "Never give up, never give up, never, never, never." We will not give up. The House of Representatives, I believe, will pass this amendment, and the pressure will continue to grow for the Senate to pass one as well. And eventually, We expect that the parents out there and grandparents can leave a legacy of responsible government under our Constitution to future generations. So this is important stuff. It's only the beginning battle. We expect to go all the way on this, and I expect to see ultimate resolution in our favor. Because it, to me, as Senator Thurmond and Senator Simon and Senator Craig have so eloquently expressed on the floor and here, it is to me the only answer to get the Congress to start living within its means. Senator Craig.
It was an extreme pleasure of mine to be able to work with these three senators in what I think was a historic effort. And it is also exciting to be on the side of the majority of the American people. The vote tonight did not represent the will of the people. It represented the will of a very powerful minority who now dominate spending in this country and debt creation at an all-time high. As a result of that, they will fail. In a representative republic, the will of the people is at some point heard. And while our founding fathers were awfully shrewd about making the changing of a constitution difficult, they also made an assurance that the will of the people would prevail. And as Senator Hatch said, and as Senator Simon and Senator Strom Thurmond said, we won't give up. We've fought this battle before, and every time it's fought, more ground is gained. The battle will now be waged in the House in the next 2 weeks, with a very strong possibility that it will pass there. That will increase not only the dynamics of this issue, but profound pressure on those senators who tonight thwarted the will of the American people. They will be asked day after day in their campaigns, and as they return home, why they oppose something that is supported by a substantial majority of the American citizens. Because that really is the fundamental debate, and it will continue to be the debate until the will of our people are heard. That is the essence of what we're attempting to do, and that will be, of course, what will keep us working to accomplish it. So I'm excited tonight from the standpoint that it was ground gained in a very important battle for the salvation of our country.
Any questions?
Senator Thurmond, do you expect another vote in the Senate this year, and if not, will you try again next year?
I would doubt that there would be another vote this year. I don't preclude that possibility. The answer is next year there will certainly be another vote.
I think there's an excellent chance that there will be another vote this year if the House passes it over there. If they pass it, I really believe the American people for the first time will start to realize that there really is hope for it. And I believe there will be so much pressure generated that there could possibly be another amendment here where we'd have to vote without a protect your backside amendment. And in this particular case, that hurt us badly. There's no use kidding about it. People will be able to go home and say, I voted for a balanced budget amendment, even though everybody knew that was a facade and a sham. Here, everybody knew here. If the House passes this amendment, and especially if it does so by any bit more than the two-thirds requisite vote, that'll put a lot of pressure on this body as well.
Senator Hatch,
Yeah.
you said that you referred to by the Protect Your Backside Amendment. To what extent do you think it was that amendment, and to what extent do you think it was the work of Senator Byrd?
Well, I don't want to diminish the work of Senator Byrd. Or look, it would be in this order: the President, Senator Byrd, or Senator Byrd and the President, depending upon your point of view, Senator Mitchell, and I might add 37 other senators. I mean, 37 senators. 3 above what they needed to, 4 above what they needed to reject this constitutional amendment. We still got 63 votes, and there are some people down there still explaining their votes against it.
But given the strength of the public feeling, what levers did the leadership use?
Every lever they had.
I wonder if you could talk in some specifics.
That would take quite a bit of time to talk about all those levers, but there's no question they had powerful levers. And as you could see, Senator Mitchell and Senator Byrd were very sincere in their opposition to this. I'm certainly not finding fault with that. I think the key turning point really was the President. If the President had supported the balanced budget amendment, as strong and powerful as and venerated as Senator Byrd and Senator Mitchell are, and others who voted against us, I really believe this amendment would have passed, and I believe it would have had a real chance. But the President went against it, and his administration decried it with what I consider to be hysterical statements in front of the committees up here.
Yeah, if I can just add, there was, as some of you probably are aware, a very divided White House on this.
That's right.
And at a very key point, Senator Byrd contacted the President. I'm not saying that was the decisive factor. I don't know what was the decisive factor. But there is no question that made a difference. And meaning no disrespect to the President of the United States, if we had had Senator Byrd in our corner, this would have carried overwhelmingly.
And we did back in 1982. Any other questions?
We thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
Thanks a lot.
Oh, I thank you.
You didn't mind me?
No.
No.
I was a little like...
No, I know you.
Aggressively.
Mayor, but is this, we hear all this talk lately about crime and in the President's...
Clearly, the crime we're seeing in every city, I think, jeopardizes the vitality of every city in this country. Cities have a tough competitive time anyhow in keeping jobs and maintaining their tax base. And when you add to that a heightened level of fear or crime, then it becomes even more difficult. So it's not something to be ignored. Do I think it's something that we can control and manage? I do. Do I think it's a complicated issue? Not simply putting people in jail. Also, I think that we need to recognize that we're dealing with kids, 16-year-old kids. It's not the cops and robbers of the 50s.
Do I think the crime bill is going to solve the problem coming from the federal government? Obviously not. Will it help? I think obviously it will, especially the community policing. But will the leadership at the local level, the kind of leadership I saw in Oakland when I was out there with their community policing, the leadership we have with the mayor, that's what's going to be the central way of moving forward in any city. And Pittsburgh's doing it.
Are you leaving now?
Yeah, I'll see you in Pittsburgh. Mutual interest.
Well, let me comment on your question to me. Your question was, and you apparently quoted someone else, that the reason Senate Democrats are holding up the Brady bill. I submit to you, the question contains a gross misstatement of fact. The Senate Democrats are not holding up the Brady bill. It is the Senate Republicans who are holding up the Brady bill. Therefore, the premise of the question being completely false, the conclusion is completely erroneous. It is the Senate Republicans who are holding up the bill, and I think that's very clear to everyone in America.
Are they holding it up because of the merits of the bill, or is this just a power play on that part?
I do not attempt to read people's minds. I can only judge their actions. Their actions are fully public for all to see. The Senate has already had 2 votes on whether or not to end the Republican filibuster and permit the Senate to vote on the bill itself.
It was
57 senators voted to end the filibuster and permit the vote to occur. The overwhelming majority of those who voted to end the filibuster were Democrats. The overwhelming majority of senators who voted against ending the filibuster were Republicans. Therefore, I conclude that the question is mistaken, and the fact is it is the Republicans who are holding up the Brady bill, and the best way to solve it would be to go walk right out there on the Senate floor and let's pass the Brady bill.
The Republicans, just follow up for 1 second, they would argue, however, that in the conference, they accepted the House version, and therefore that's created the problem because they did not get the bill. They said there was no compromise, that it was entirely the House version. That's why they're worried about it.
Well, if you believe that, then I got a bridge separating Portland and South Portland, Maine, and I'm going to sell to you at a good rate.
Mr. Speaker?
Well, I think it stands comparison, yes indeed. I mean, you know, when you look at the record of this Congress, what we passed, what success the President had with his initiatives, starting with family and medical leave and national service and the largest deficit reduction bill in history, and major education legislation with the Education 2000 program, campaign finance reform, and environmental bills by the dozens, with an additional $37 billion worth of deficit reduction just yesterday. You can go through this record and to say it's a joke to compare it with the Johnson administration. The record is just a political slogan. It doesn't bear analysis. It's been an extraordinary session of Congress. And in private, if not in public, Republican leaders will concede that.
And I might also make, if I could make the additional point, there is a rather spectacular irony in the fact that it is Republicans who are now suggesting that the Johnson record was so great that there's no comparison with this one, when most of the initiatives of the Johnson administration were bitterly opposed by the Republicans.
Senator Mitchell, are you coming back next week on the Brady bill to make the point, or because you have reason to believe that those additional 3 votes you'll need will be there next week?
We're coming back to pass the bill.
Do you have reason to believe you'll be successful?
I hope we will. Well, I do know this, that between the first and the second cloture vote, and after the second cloture vote, several Republican senators told me that they favored the Brady bill, and they wanted to vote for the Brady bill. And when we voted on the bill in the Senate, 63 senators voted for it.
Are you counting on members getting heat over the weekend?
I don't know about that. The fact of the matter is, when we voted on the bill, 63 senators voted for it. And my hope is that the same 63 senators, or some proportion of them, will vote to permit us to complete this action now. Seems to me to be a reasonable expectation.
Along those lines, there are people who are Republicans who are complaining that they have basically been allowed to drag themselves into this problem, and that you're getting maximum political advantage out of it. The comments that they might think that they would use as a demonstration of that. That while they may be in the corner, you're taking some of the right at the corner of the
I really disagree, and I frankly, and I mean this seriously, can't imagine what I've said that supports the conclusion reached in your question. We want to pass the bill. That's our objective. We've been trying to pass the bill, and we're going to continue to try to pass the bill. And I totally reject the suggestion in your question that we want to do anything but that. We would be very happy if we could go out and pass that bill this afternoon. And I want to tell you that I am personally deeply disappointed that the Senate will not be able to complete its action prior to Thanksgiving. This will be the first time since I've been Senate Majority Leader that the first session of Congress did not conclude prior to Thanksgiving. And I regret that very much. We want to pass the bill and leave, but we're not going to leave without passing the bill. And I think it's inappropriate, or at least an erroneous conclusion, to suggest somehow, as these questions appear to be, that we are the ones doing it. It's just the opposite.
Let me continue down that road for just a second, though. Looking at it in the cold, hard life of politics,